The Japanese spirit. Since the end of the 13th century, when Marco Polo, on his return to Venice, wrote about Cipangu, an island, as he stated, 1,500 miles off the coast of China, fabulously rich and inhabited by people of agreeable manners. Many a Western pen has been wielded to tell all kinds of tales concerning the land of the rising sun, her long seclusion, her anxious care to guard inviolate the simple faith which had been gravely threatened by the Roman Church, her hearty welcome of the honored guest from the West after centuries of independent growth, the sudden, almost pathetic changes she has gone through in the past 40 years in order to equip herself for a place on the world stage where powers play their game of balance. The lessons she lately taught the still slumbering China through the mouths of thundering cannon. All this has called into existence the expression of opinions and comments of very varying merit and tone, and especially since the outbreak of the present war, when the daily news from the scenes of action, where my brethren are fighting for the cause of wrong justice and menaced liberty, is showing the world page after page of patriotism and loyalty, written unmistakably in the crimson letters of heroes' blood. All this has given occasion to Europe and America to think the matter over afresh. Here, you have at least a nation different in her development from any existing people in the Occident, governed from time immemorial by immediate descendants of the sun goddess, whose merciful rule early taught us to offer them our voluntary tribute of devotion and love. We have based our social system on filial piety, that necessary outcome of ancestor worship, which presupposes altruism on the one hand and on the other loyalty and love of the fatherland. Different doctrines of religion and morality have found their way from their continental homes to the silvery shores of the land of the gods, only to render their several services towards consolidating and widening the so-called divine path, that national cult whose unwritten tenets have lurked for thousands of years, hidden in the most sacred corner of our hearts, whose pulse is ever beating, its rhythm of patriotism and loyalty. Buddhist metaphysics, Confucian and Taoist philosophy have been fused together in the furnace of Shintoism for 15 centuries and a half, and that apart from the outer world and the island home of Japan, where the blue sky looks down on gay blossoms and gracefully sloping mountains, the final amalgamation of these forces produces, among other results, the works of art and the feats of bravery now before you, each bearing the ineffaceable hallmarks of Japan's past history. Surely here you are face to face with a people worthy of serious investigation, not only from the disinterested point of view of a folk psychologist. It is a study which will open to any impartial observer a new horizon, more so than would be the case if he attempted the sociological interpretation of a nation, the history of whose development was almost identical with that of his own. Here, he meets totally different sets of things with totally different ways of looking at them, and this gives him ample occasion to realize the fact that human thought and action may evolve in several forms and through several channels before they reach their respective culmination, where they all, regardless of their original differences, melt into the common sea of truth.